Alfa Romeo's first EV, the Junior, brings a sporty vibe to the bulging segment for compact electrified crossovers. Shared Stellantis Group underpinnings have been given the Milanese maker's evocative spin here, and you might really like the aspirational end result.
To be honest, there's not much that's particularly Alfa-like about the kind of ordinary Junior Elettrica that we're trying here, which gets the usual Stellantis Group setup, and that sees a 156 horsepower motor energized by a 54 kilowatt hour battery, delivering range in this case rated at up to 255 miles. 62 miles an hour from rest takes a relatively leisurely 9 seconds, and top speed is limited to just 93 miles an hour. Still, there is the brand's usual DNA driving mode system. The letters stand for dynamic, natural and advanced efficiency settings. You'll want to avoid the eco advanced efficiency mode because that restricts power to a very feeble 79 bhp. Even with natural engaged, you'll only get 109. Only dynamic releases the motor's full output. With that top setting selected, it really does feel quite engaging to drive, and there are several reasons why. The ECMP2 platform that all Juniors are based on is engineered around a wider track than you'd see it used with another equivalent Stellantis Group model. That's for more involving handling. Nor does the car feel quite as ponderous as some other small EVs at speed through the turns. Now that's partly because the 1,560 kilo curb weight is about 200 kilos less than the class norm. On top of that, there's well-controlled body roll, there are feelsome brakes, and the level of steering feel here, it's the best we've ever experienced with a small EV. All of this wieldiness bodes well for the top Elettrica Veloce model that any remaining true Alfisti prepared to take the step with this Milanese maker into a new, fully electrified future will prefer to target. This is the version of this car that the company seems to have put much of its efforts into, using engineers who'd previously worked on the Giulia GTA Super Saloon. This flagship variant uses the same battery as the base model, but it gets a front-mounted 280 horsepower motor borrowed from the Abarth 600e hot hatch, and that powers the Veloce to 62 miles an hour in just 5.9 seconds. That top Junior model borrows not only its motor but virtually all of its engineering from that Abarth Stellantis stablemate, and that means a bespoke chassis calibration with a Torsen mechanical limited slip differential, plus different front and rear anti-roll bars, an even faster steering rack and stiffer suspension too that lowers the ride height by 25 millimeters. The 20-inch wheels have grippier Michelin Pilot Sport 5 rubber and feature bigger 4-piston brakes with 380mm discs at the front. Predictably, EV range takes a hit though, limited on the Veloce to 208 miles. Earlier we mentioned the hybrid version of this Junior, the Junior Ibrida. This combustion model weighs 255 kilos less than this EV variant, which should make it even more chuckable through the bends. And it uses the same 1.2 litre, 3-cylinder, mild hybrid, 48-volt powertrain that we've seen on multiple Stellantis Group models, which develops 136 bhp and features a 28 bhp electric motor built into the dual-clutch 6-speed auto gearbox. As an Alfa should, the Junior has a bit of pavement presence, although everything that you can't see is pretty familiar Stellantis Group fare. Primarily the ECMP2 platform, which allows for dimensions pretty typical for the kind of compact SUV this is: 4.17 metres long, 1.5 metres high and 1.78 metres wide. But from those fundamentals, the Milanese makers nonetheless created quite a stylish looking thing with a sporty stance and a floating roof, which can, as here, be contrast coloured and incorporates blacked out C-pillars where you'll find the hidden rear door handles. As you'd expect, lots of the usual brand styling cues feature, including these narrow C-shaped SZ-inspired ultra-slim angular 3+3 matrix LED headlights. Like other Alfas, there is of course the usual triangular Alfa Scudetto shield grille. The rear has emotive Alfa Romeo script on the tailgate and the cut-off Skoda Tronica cam-style tail, which is supposed to reference the classic Giulia TZ and is apparently very aerodynamic. Now, despite its Stellantis screen tech and borrowed switchgear, the front of cabin design won't immediately remind you of anything else in the segment. Alfa wants you to be immediately struck by the small steering wheel here and the relatively low-slung driving position, and perhaps also by the telescopic cowled instrument panel and the cloverleaf style corner air vents here with their central serpent logos. Unlike most cars these days, the central screen isn't positioned on top of the dash like an iPad afterthought, but is built into the central stack here, where unusually it angles the opposite way to a pair of vents above it. These are separated by a small button panel, the upper part of which provides a couple of shortcuts to the 10.25-inch display. Ventilation functions reside on the main monitor. The shortcut to the climate section is one of the four main options on the cloud nav mapping dominated home screen here. But fortunately, there is also a proper row of physical heating, cooling and air circulation buttons below it. Anything else you might need to know will be found on the instrument screen, also 10.25 inches in size. Alfa's Centro Stile design team have done a good job in making this dial panel feel brand specific, not only through the binnacle's top twin cowling, but also with clever use of retro graphics for the two provided dials, a speedo on the left with gear and drive mode selection, and for this EV model, a power meter on the right with range and battery capacity. What else? Well, the cocooning ambiance is aided by heated sports seats that most should find comfortable enough, providing you can get along with the long arm, short leg ergonomics, although taller folk may want to try before they buy. Back seat space back here isn't especially generous, not helped by the stylised central tunnel and the thick plastic-backed front chairs. But headroom is better than you might expect given the swept-back roofline. Let's finish as usual with a look at luggage capacity. You'll have to do without this powered tailgate if you stick with entry-level trim. Once it rises, you'll find that thanks to the simplistic rear suspension and the rear overhang length, boot space is very reasonable, rated at 400 litres. To give you some segment perspective, a Mini Aceman offers 100 litres less, a Ford Puma Gen E 174 litres more. In this EV version, there's potentially some extra underbonnet space for the charging cables, but you'll only get that if you pay extra for the underbonnet electric cable storage option. The battery can charge at up to 100 kilowatts, which is on the low side by current standards actually, and can recharge from 20 to 80% in 27 minutes using a 100 kilowatt cable when hooked up to a suitable rapid charger. Just 3 minutes on such a fast charger would give you 80 miles of range. For AC charging from home, you'll need 7.5 hours for a full charge from a typical 7.4 kilowatt wall box, but an 11 kilowatt AC charger is also included. So if your house or workplace has access to faster three-phase charging, then the time for full battery replenishment can be reduced by quite a lot, to 5 hours and 45 minutes. What about the combustion junior model? Well, for the Hybrida hybrid model, you're looking at a combined cycle fuel figure of 58.8 mpg and a CO2 reading of 109 grams per kilometre. It's a hard thing to translate Alfa Romeo values into this electrified era. We saw that with the brand's plug-in hybrid Tonale. But this Junior makes a decent attempt to do just that and quite effectively disguises its generic Stellantis Group engineering, which is just as well, given the importance of this car to this Milanese maker. It could end up accounting for over 40% of the company's sales. The hastily added replacement name of this model is borrowed from the 1966 GT 1300 Junior version of the Giulia, just one of the cues intended to allow this car to trade on its maker's famous history. In reality, though, the Junior shares nothing with Alfa's past. That's the whole point. Whether the result is a dilution or expansion in brand values will be up to you to decide.